Assalamu alaikum. Masal khair al jamii. Welcome to our today's workshop, which is going to be about how to write an essay. Actually, this topic is for graduate and undergraduate students both. So it is a very important topic and presented by Ms. Sajidah Fakhri. So thank you, Ms. Sajidah, for taking the lead to present today's workshop. So the floor is yours. You may start now.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I would like to welcome everyone who's come in today to attend this presentation of mine. Thank you so much for being here on this wonderful evening. As you can see, my topic is how to write an essay. And I'm afraid I cannot see your comments. So I may not be able to respond to the comments, but there are some questions that I will be presenting or posing to you during the presentation. So please feel free to pick up your mic and answer the questions. And then please remember also to disconnect yourself. Otherwise, we will have some noise during the presentation. But your participation is definitely welcome. Thank you so much. Essay writing is something that is sometimes a stumbling block for everyone at some stage. We all write essays as students, as graduates, as postgraduates, sometimes later in our adult life when we need to get a paper ready. So this is something that we need to do. And I'll try to present some ideas to you through my presentation. And I hope they will be helpful for you, inshallah. My session aims, what I would like to present in this presentation is what is an essay. So I will define it and try to make you understand what it exactly is. I'll also explain the structure of an essay. What basic structure does it usually follow? What are the different types of essays? Because they can be essays that are of different orientation, so they're definitely different types. What is the audience and purpose that we're writing for? And this is especially important because we actually gear our essay writing to the audience that we're presenting it to and the purpose of the essay itself. What are some words that we can use in essays? What is the type of language? What is the format, the style of writing? What are some helpful words that we can use to make our essay writing more clear? What mistakes can we avoid in essay writing? So these are the things that we should try not to do when we write an essay. And finally, I will end with some tips for successful essay writing so that you know you're going the right way when you're composing your essay. So as I said, we will start with an introduction of what is an essay. So an essay is usually, it's a piece of writing. It could be 5 or more paragraphs. It could be less too, depending on the level that you're writing for. Of course, in schools, an essay could be just 2 or 3 paragraphs. And it gets to be more complicated and more lengthy as we progress in our life where we study. So it could be about one topic and it has several main points. So these main points are presented in the course of writing the whole essay, and I will guide you through how we write these main points and in which order we usually present them. The main points are introduced usually in the introductory paragraph. So it comes in the introduction, and then you are able to give the reader an idea of what the essay is going to be about. It is supported in the body paragraphs, so you have the ideas being expounded and expanded upon in the body paragraphs so that the reader comes to know what exactly it is you're talking about, and it's definitely in more detail. And you conclude with the conclusion, which is in the last paragraph, and this kind of sums up or rounds up the whole idea of the essay. And all these main points I will be taking you through in the slides that follow. Using an academic writing style is very important when we do essay writing because we need to choose the right words. We need to set out our ideas, our arguments, and definitely we need to be very coherent, extremely cohesive, and give a lot of good evidence to support our essay. William Zinsser said that writing is thinking on paper, and this is definitely true because if you look at this mind map, you can see that you start with understanding the question to find your focus. So the question is the main focal point of our essay writing. We read it, we understand it, and then we know what we have to write about. So we begin to think around the focus. We begin to read around the focus. If we're doing some extra reading, we pick up information from the internet, from books, from whatever material we can about our topic. Then we start organizing our ideas and we write the first draft. Now, of course, the first draft is never perfect, but it has a lot of the ideas that have come into our mind after we've collected all the different ideas from our sources. And eventually we revise and we proofread, we format it, and we improve on the language. A plan helps us to put our ideas into a form which gives a very clear direction to our reading. Because if we have a clear direction, then our readers and our audience also knows which direction your essay is taking. Now, of course, your audience will differ. It could be a peer member of your group. It could be a professor you're submitting the essay to. So you have to keep your idea very, very clear so that it comes across to them as soon as they start reading your essay. Once you have written your ideas up into a plan, you're beginning to start giving a structure to your essay. So your writing process is taking a certain form, a certain order, and your argument is becoming more coherent. Sometimes you might surprise yourself by discovering that you know more about the subject matter than you thought before. So this can really help to build your confidence. So these stages are extremely important. Now, it's not absolutely necessary that these stages will go in the absolute order that I have given. It differs from person to person, from essay to essay, from the kind of writing that you're doing. So it can go back and forth, but usually it follows roughly this pattern. And it is, like I mentioned before, introduction, main body, conclusion, and references. So this is the basic structure. There will be some overlapping when I'm mentioning this in my slides, so please bear with me. The introduction starts with introducing the subject and coming to the main point. As you can see, the triangle coming to the point. Then you have the body. I've given 3 bars over there, which could represent the 3 paragraphs. It could be more, as I told you, depending on the level you're writing for and the kind of writing that is required of you. So this reveals the real power of your writing. So your body paragraphs are extremely important. They support your thesis, which is the main idea that you've started writing about. You are going to give a lot of examples while you are writing the body paragraphs, and you're going to give detailed information to support your ideas. And then, of course, you end with your conclusion. As you can see, it starts as a triangle, which is not inverted like the introduction, but this is a straight base up triangle, which starts from a point and then expands so that it envelopes your whole idea. So you begin by restating your thesis. You don't need to give it word for word, and gradually you become more broad and general as you end it up by summing it up and rounding it off. I can hear the button for a comment. So if anyone's written a comment, as I mentioned before, I'm sorry, I cannot read the comments. So if you'd like to pick up the mic and say anything at this point before I go on to my next slide, is there anyone who wants to say something? No? Okay, then I'll proceed. Can everyone still hear me? Because everything is awfully quiet and I'm afraid I may not be heard. Can you still hear me? Can someone let me know? Can someone pick up the mic and tell me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Right. So this slide talks about the essay outline, which is the introduction. How do I make my introduction paragraph? I orientate the reader, which means I turn his mind, his focus in the direction that my essay is going to take by presenting my main idea right from the beginning. In this, I identify my focus, my purpose. I outline the scope. So I kind of give you an idea, the road I'm taking you down. And then I state my thesis. So by now, if you read my introductory paragraph, if it is a very good introductory paragraph, my audience should know where I am taking them. I should state my main idea, my thesis. Then I progress into the body. The body, if I've only given 3 over here, just to give you a fair idea. Of course, like I told you before, it could be more than 3. It will begin with a topic sentence, 1, supporting details, and a concluding sentence. So each body paragraph We'll start with the topic sentence and preferably have a concluding sentence and give more details in between, as you can see. Topic sentence 2 and topic sentence 3, more supporting details and concluding sentences. And finally, we come to the conclusion where we restate our thesis and we summarize our argument to give a kind of a closing to the whole essay. So how do we write an essay? Very important to first identify the type of essay. And like I told you, there are different types, which I will be taking you through in the slides that follow. For this, we need to brainstorm. You can think of your own ideas from your past knowledge, from your past experience. But of course, you could always pick up more ideas from different resources. It could be the internet, it could be research that you're doing by looking up different sources, different books that you would like to read up on, and you can get more ideas. So definitely your research is very important, and this will help you to develop a thesis. This will also help you to give you a very good outline of the type of essay that you're writing. And then, of course, you start writing, and the writing process also goes through many stages. And then finally, you edit to make your final composition. Now we come to the types of essays. As I told you, there are different types. The descriptive, which is describing something, the narrative, where you narrate something, the cause and effect essay, where you give a cause of something and you move on to the effect that it can have. So this will take you through one or two stages. The compare and contrast, where you compare and contrast different ideas to give you the kind of argument that you would like to pose for the compare contrast essay, because you'll have the topic in front of you and you know exactly what you have to compare it with and what you have to contrast it. The process essay, which takes you through a process, so you're explaining a process of doing something and taking it stage by stage. The expository essay, which is a genre that requires someone to investigate an idea and evaluate evidence and to carry forth the idea in a very clear and concise manner. And finally, the persuasive and argumentative essay, in which you have a main idea which you're trying to convince your audience about. So you're trying to persuade them and you're trying to argue so that you make them believe your point of view by the time you end the essay. Of course, there could be more types, which I may not have mentioned here, but of course, because of time limitations, I'm not able to go into more detail on other types of essays. It's very important that we consider audience and purpose for essays. We introduce and use multiple examples to provide sufficient evidence to present our idea to the audience. So, of course, if we are writing an essay which is going to be given in a school, then that audience would not require you to have extremely complicated language or examples. For a university, then the level would go up. And so the bar is raised the higher you go in your educational ladder. You use very straightforward and clear examples for an audience that may be unfamiliar with the topic. For instance, even as a teacher, when you're teaching essay writing to an audience which is probably at the teenage level, then you use very clear examples, especially if you're talking about a topic that they're not very familiar with. Let's say you're writing an essay on engineering topic, then you can use more complex examples and the audience is familiar with the topic, so you don't need to explain everything in so much detail. So let's start with the introduction of an essay. The introductory paragraph is usually the first paragraph. It contains two parts. It has a general statement which attracts the reader's attention, and there is a thesis statement that gives the main idea. It names the topic, it gives idea of content, and suggests the writer's point of view in usually the last sentence of the paragraph. So it states the overall plan of your essay. It gives a very good idea of the whole plan of what you are writing about. So like I said before, by reading the introductory paragraph, the audience, your teacher or your professor should know very clearly by the end of that first paragraph what exactly you're writing about. What are the different types of introductory paragraphs that you can write? Because they're different. You don't have to write the same kind. There is one which is called a funnel introduction. I've taken two over here just to explain to you how it can be written. So after two or three general statements, the last sentence kind of states what the paragraph will be about, and it zooms in like you would zoom in with a telephoto lens if you're viewing some scenery or some kind of vision or looking at something. So it acts in the same way. So that's called a funnel introduction. An attention getting introduction can be very dramatic. It could be a funny story. It could be surprising facts or statistics that you've collected about your essay. It could give a historical background. So that would serve the purpose of immediately grabbing the reader's attention. Now, I have something now for all of you, my audience. Which introduction is this? Can you tell me if it's a funnel introduction or an attention-getting introduction? Just to remind you again, a funnel introduction is where you zoom in with a telephoto lens. So the last sentence kind of states what the paragraph is about after two or three general statements. And an attention-getting one grabs your attention with something dramatic or funny. So the first statement here is, it was the worst trip I ever took. I will never go there again. And the second one, introduction to have a healthy life, eating healthy and exercising regularly is important. Okay, so I would really appreciate it if someone could take up the mic and just tell me the answer. First one or second one, whichever you're comfortable with. I'm sorry, I'm not able to see the comments, so can someone say it? If you're raising your hand, just feel free to pick up your mic. I think I'm getting a lot of comments, but I really can't see it. So okay. Okay, I am able to read it now. Hopefully, I'll be able to get back to my presentation. Okay, the mic is disabled. Thank you so much for letting me know. Yes, two is funnel and two is funnel. One is attention getting. Okay, I think I'm getting similar answers. Thank you so much for all of you for writing in. Yes, I am able to see my presentation as well as go into the comments now. So I figured that out. Thank you. Yes. Yes, definitely. Very good answers. And you got it absolutely right. Perfect. So it is attention getting and funnel. There is one example of each. And as you told me, it is funnel is two, attention getting is one. Yes. So absolutely correct. So let's move on to the next slide. Um, this is I'm still explaining the introduction, so this is continued. Sometimes thesis statements list subtopics that will be discussed further in the body. For instance, this one that is taken from the Longman Writing Series, Book 4, young people in my culture have less freedom than young people in the US in their choice of where they live, whom they marry, and what their job is. Okay, so it's a thesis statement, but it also gives you subtopics that will be discussed further by the writer. So he is going to discuss where they live, whom they marry, and what their job is, and how his culture differs from the culture of the US in these three factors. Can you add subtopics to this thesis statement? Success is a result of doing the right things consistently. If anyone can write it as phrases, or if you'd like it as write it as a sentence, Alhamdulillah, I'm able to view your comments, so I'll be able to check now. Are you not able to see the slides? Please let me know. Are the slides visible to everyone? Okay, thank you so much. Yes. So if you could add subtopics to this statement that I've given you, the thesis statement, success is a result of doing the right things consistently. You could even write in and give me phrases that could be added on as subtopics. Any answers for that? You could tell me some phrases. What do you think is necessary for a person to be successful? Okay, if that could be added on as a subtopic to make a larger statement. You don't have to write the full statement. You could just give me some words and phrases that could be included in that thesis statement. Consistency is the key. Excellent, yes. Jury, Nope says to read a book. Rida says planning, managing time, and working hard. Very good. Excellent. These are wonderful answers, and definitely they could be added on to the thesis statement to make it a broader one, sharing subtopics. Um, yes, building the right habits, Fatma. Very good. Yes, so moving on to my next slide, I'm talking now about the body of the essay. The body consists of one or more paragraphs following the introduction. Like I told you, it could be one, it could be as many as five, or even more, depending on the length of the essay. Each paragraph supports the main idea of the essay by breaking it down into smaller ideas or subtopics. Now, it's always preferable to keep to one idea or one subtopic per paragraph, especially if you want to explain it well, give examples, and come to conclusions. If you think you can combine two, not too bad, but it is always a good practice to not combine too many ideas to present in one paragraph. It can get very confusing for the person who's reading it. Each body paragraph consists of a topic sentence and several supporting sentences, and a concluding sentence should ideally close each paragraph. When we come to a little bit more about the body paragraphs, they are definitely the support or the scaffolding of the building of the essay. So imagine your essay like a big building, and your body paragraphs is what supports or acts as a scaffolding for your essay. It holds it up, basically. So the body develops the topic, it proves points with facts, with examples, with details, and you can even give quotations when necessary. Again, something that you can do and give me some answers. Is this an introductory paragraph sentence or a body paragraph sentence? A, conducting exams in universities can have several advantages. B, smoking can be very dangerous for health. If you could tell me A or B, which one is a body paragraph and which one is an introductory paragraph according to you? I already have one answer from Shada. She says A is the body and B is the introduction. Okay, and I'm getting many more answers. Yes, A, body, B, introduction. Mostly it's the same. Jury, Muad, Asrar, Sultan, Haneen. Excellent. Very good. So I have a wonderful audience today, mashallah. Yes. So yes, you have definitely got the correct idea. A is a body paragraph because you're talking of several advantages. So you're going to elaborate on that in the following paragraphs. And smoking can be dangerous for health. You're introducing the person to the main idea. So that's definitely an introductory paragraph. Then we come to the conclusion of an essay. What is the purpose of my essay? So the conclusion of my essay leaves the reader with a very positive impression, a sense of completeness, and an inclination to think about the topic. So it gives a reminder of the main points. It summarizes the thesis statement. It is usually a short single paragraph, and it should logically follow the body of the essay. Ideally, you should not give any new information about the topic in your concluding paragraph. That should have already been done in the body of the essay. So nothing new should be presented here. And you should conclude with a sense of completeness so that the person gets a very good idea of what he has just read and he has understood it completely. Again, I'm still carrying on with the ideas that can be included in the conclusion. It signals the end of the essay with transition signal words. So your words finally, in conclusion, to summarize, will give the reader a very good idea that you're coming to a close, you're coming to an end with all your ideas. It leaves the reader with final thoughts and a very strong, effective message. So the point is not just to conclude your essay and bring it to a finish, but it should also have been so interesting that it leaves the reader with very good final thoughts. It leaves him thinking about the topic you wrote about and with a very good message also. It could ideally also make a prediction. It could suggest results and consequences. It could recommend a solution. It could be a call for action. It could be a quoting an authority. Okay. Again, something that you can ponder and think upon. What kind of concluding sentence is this? The first one, if deforestation continues, our forests will die out. If money is concentrated with the rich, the poor will get poorer. So you can look at my last point above this. Do you think it's a prediction? Do you think it suggests consequences or results? Does it recommend a solution, or is it a call for action? It's definitely not a quote, so it's got to be some of these others. So I would like some answers. Okay, a prediction. Very good. Which one do you think is a prediction? Fatima, is it the first one or the second one? Shada says the first one gives a consequence. Excellent. Forests will die out. And the second one you think is a quote. All right. Any other ideas? Any ideas about the first one, the second one? It could be some different ideas too. I'm open to it. If deforestation continues, our forests will die out. If money is concentrated with the rich, the poor will get poorer. Sultan Bandar says it's a result. A is a result. Very good. Yes, definitely. A consequence, a result, a prediction. Any more answers? Anyone else would like to share? Yes. The second is a prediction, according to Fahad. Yes, yes. The money is concentrated with the rich, the poor will get poorer. The second is a very strong message. Haneen says that, and yes, Haneen, it will leave the reader with a very with an idea that he's got to think more about it. So he will be left thinking about what he just read, and this is what we want with a good essay. Right. Okay. So let's move on to the next slide. I'm getting some more answers. Let me check that. First one is a consequence. Fahad says that. Hamad says the second is definitely a prediction. Wonderful. Thank you so much, all of you who have been contributing with your answers. This one, I'm going to try to explain how we can do timed writing, because often we have to write an essay under timed conditions in an exam. So sometimes, let's say I've taken an ideal situation. Of course, there could be less time than what I've given on this slide, or it could be more time, but I've tried to keep a medium. So the total time, as you can see at the bottom, is 60 minutes. How I've broken up the time is, first we read the prompt carefully, we choose the topic, because sometimes there's a choice of topics to write your essay. You understand it and you underline the key words. So you jot down all your points, you brainstorm, and you start underlining the keywords you're going to write about. Hopefully this will take about 5 minutes. Of course, this is going to differ from person to person. You brainstorm your ideas, you write a thesis statement, and get a rough outline to organize your ideas in 10 minutes. Please remember that at this point, you're not writing full sentences. You're just jotting down your ideas, you're writing words, you're writing phrases as they come into your mind. Then you write the essay with an introduction, with a body, and with a conclusion. So this will take the longest. So I've put 25 minutes over there. So you're going to get all your ideas on paper, preferably in good sentences. You take about 10 minutes then to check your essay errors and to correct your mistakes. These could be grammar mistakes, spelling mistakes, punctuation mistakes, maybe a little bit about organizing your ideas. You edit it a little bit more and you submit it. This will take another 10 minutes. And this brings us to a total time of 60 minutes, which will get better with practice. And as I say, it differs from person to person. When you start off, you may not be so good with managing your time, but it gets better as you go on. So this is a very basic breakdown of a 5 paragraph. It's called the hamburger breakdown of the essay. The introduction is the bun on top. The first point paragraph is your lettuce. Second point paragraph are your tomatoes. Your third point paragraph is your burger. And your conclusion is the second half of the bun. And I thought this was a very simple way of presenting how essays should be written. So to give you a more thorough idea of how we should write essays, I've actually taken an idea and broken it down into introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion. Okay. I think someone has a question. Okay, if you'd like to take up the mic and speak, if anyone has a question to ask. No, I don't think so. Okay, so I'll just move on. This essay would be roughly 120 words. The introduction would be a general introductory statement, followed by a thesis statement, and just giving a very clear idea of what order your arguments are going to take. Body paragraph 2 will be the topic sentence. Now, as you can see, this is a lengthy essay because just the introduction was 120 words. So the second paragraph is 250 words, and all the body paragraphs 1, 2, and 3 are all 240 words. So body paragraph 1, sorry, is the topic sentence. There are many types of media, so it's about social media, which cannot be treated as all the same. You're supporting ideas. There are many types of TV programs. You cannot assume they always have the same effect. People use them in many ways. Children use new platforms, that is, they're going online nowadays, so TV does not hold that much of attraction for them. Body paragraph 2, your topic sentence would be media can be actively used to achieve beneficial outcomes for children. Now you can see very clearly by now where the writer is going, which way he is headed. He's now talking about the advantages. Supporting ideas, increasing range of TV tailored for children, and give references over here. Educational, it can build social skills, and you introduce diverse themes and topics into the child's mind and his repertoire, his knowledge. So body paragraph 3, the topic sentence, inappropriate use of media can result in many harmful effects. So you can see the first one introduced the media and said what are the different types that children use. Second paragraph talked about the advantages, and the third paragraph is now moving into disadvantages. So supporting ideas for this would be parents cannot always guard against the content, so they cannot keep an eye on children all the time. They can create entitlement and peer pressure, so they can actually speak to the children about what they should watch. And peer pressure will also be working on many of these children about what they should actually be watching. And of course, it will mean less contact with real people. So it's not very beneficial in that way. It can be quite harmful. And body paragraph 4, another 240 words. The topic sentence would be the amount and type of media, as well as the variety and quality of content, which are very important. And your supporting ideas will say, it talks about studies have found no harmful effects on an average child, but overexposure to violence can be harmful. So the outcome can be positive if physical activity is encouraged. So if the TV viewing is kept to a certain regulated time, and you include other activities, definitely physical activities, then it is can turn out to be quite good for the child. And your conclusion would restate your thesis with general conclusions and giving a final concluding statement, which, as I said before, can be a prediction, can be a result, can be a consequence. So I hope that taking you through that actual essay, telling you the topic, and taking you through the introduction, the 4 paragraphs, and the conclusion made things a little more clearer, inshallah, for you. Okay. Over here, I'm going to explore time order words. So we use a lot of these in essay writing, and they can come in a huge use for us because we don't want to repeat ourselves when we write essays. And if there is a lot of repetition, the essay can get boring and it will sound very monotonous. So in order to make it more interesting, we try to keep the words as varied as possible. And this is some of the vocabulary. For before, you can say earlier, formerly, in the past, or not too long ago, preceding this event, or previously, this had happened prior to this event, up until that time, or yesterday. This could be used in narrative also, in all different kinds of essays. So when you're starting off to say something in the beginning, you can say at first, at the beginning, at the onset, before, and as we commence, as we embark, from this point on, in the first place, starting with or to begin with. When we want to say something next, we say after a few days, after a while, as soon as, consequently, following this, or henceforth, not long after, secondly, thirdly, shortly after, since, soon after, or then, or tomorrow. I think the most commonly used one is then over here. We use a lot of that. So how to vary it? We can use these different words. Sometimes, when we want to say sometimes, we say at times, from time to time, gradually, occasionally, periodically, seldom, or some of the time. So we can do that to say sometimes. We don't have to repeat the word sometimes again and again. And in conclusion, we can say afterwards, at last, at the end, eventually, finally, in conclusion, in the end, last of all. And something that's not mentioned over here, to summarize, is something we say a lot or we write a lot. And this has been, the source for this is from EnglishGrammarHere.com. Are there any other words that anyone else can think about that we can use in the middle of the essay, in the beginning of the essay, towards the end of the essay, that has maybe not been mentioned here on this slide? If anyone would like to add something. Any ideas? Okay, I think I'm getting some ideas. Yes. Haneen says also, definitely Haneen. Yes, Amar says, first of all, Hamad says, accordingly. Very interesting. Yes, I like those choice of words. Therefore, yes, Shada, therefore, Iman, as you see, Hamad, excellent, in alignment with. I love that. It's a very good choice of words. Yes. Maram says, however, yes, however is something we use a lot. Rida, wonderful. Last but not least, yes, yes, we do use a lot of these. Muhammad says, in addition to that, wonderful. Yes. Thank you so much for bringing me up to date. Yes, I had forgotten about some of these words. Sultan says, furthermore, Haneen says, next, and Muad says, besides. Thank you so much. Yes, wonderful. So we got some more words there to add to our list. Now, in addition, yes, these are some more that we can use for comparison, for contrast, to add something, to talk about time, for example, to summarize. In addition, you can say and, additionally, along with, in addition to, plus. For comparison, you say similarly, likewise, in the same way as well, in common. Okay, so this shows similarities. For contrast, which will show differences, you use the words but, although, however, in contrast, except, on the contrary. For time, you can say currently, while, now, at first, later, or next. And for example, we can say, for example, for instance, specifically, primarily, I would like to mention, or in fact. And when you summarize some more words, in brief, in short, to sum up in the end, eventually, ultimately, and before long. And I think some of my audience have added a few more words since I last saw this. Besides, Muad says that, Allah says as a result, Hamad says regarding, regardless, Rinad, first of all. Wonderful. Very, very good words there. Very nice phrases that we can definitely add to our essay. And I hope some of these in the slides have also helped you. On the other hand, very good, Hidayah. Yes, we definitely use a lot of that. On the other hand, shows contrasts very nicely. So shows differences. Any more contributions? I love all these answers, so please keep them coming. Very nice. I'm open to any more before I go on to the next slide. On the flip side, I love that, Allah. Very nice. Whereas Fahad, yes, very nice. Whereas Hidayah and Fahad, Haneen says in addition. Yes, very good. Okay. This is very interesting because nonetheless, Rida, yes, yes, nonetheless is also something and a very nice word to use. All in all, Iman, yes, that's a very nice word to use, a phrase to use in your conclusion. So thank you so much. Wonderful. Alternatively, Maram, very nice. Despite, yes, Ahmad, despite of. So to conclude, on the contrary, Saja and Fatima, yes, yes, thank you very much. Yes. And let's move on to some more words here. Linking words for writing essays. Now, to emphasize, we say, as a matter of fact, in fact, for reformulating. Some of these you may have mentioned already because I have such an excellent audience. Some of you have already said this. That is to say, in other words, namely, to put things differently, when you sum up, in short, all things considered, to sum up, or in a nutshell, for condition, if you say if, unless, provided that, suppose, as long as, to speak about consequence, as a result, therefore, consequently, eventually, so, very short word, but something we use a lot, that's why, and thus. For choice, neither, nor, either, or, whatever, whenever, wherever, whoever. Of course, this would depend on what you're using it for. whatever would be a matter, whenever would be a time, wherever would be a place, and whoever would be a person. Concession, although, though, even though, despite, I think someone had already mentioned despite, apart from, except for, but for. Adding ideas also, which has also been given by the audience. Moreover, furthermore, besides, not only, but also. And explaining a cause as, because, or because of, since, and the reason why. Okay, so see, these are writing more interesting, more colorful, and because there's so many choices, we don't really need to repeat the words again and again. And this is from lessonsforenglish.com. So just to take you again through the writing process, okay, just to review once again. So we start with pre-writing, okay. The pre-writing process is a very rough process that all of us, it's vital, it's very important. All of us should practice that and go through that, because that is where we formulate all our ideas. And then we start by rewriting those ideas, organizing them, deciding which goes in the introduction, which goes in which body paragraph, and which should be in the conclusion. So after we do that, we revise. We go through it, we read it, we reread it, and we proofread it. Now, proofreading can also be done by someone else, someone you would like to have them have a look, because if we read and reread our essay again and again, sometimes we're not able to give it a very objective eye. So we can give it to a professor, a teacher, a friend, older person in the family who would like to go through it. So anybody could proofread it to help us out. And then we finally rewrite it and edit it. Okay, so this would be the final process. We polished it, we've made it, tried to make it as perfect as possible, and then we write it. And finally, we publish it or we submit it. Submit it to our teacher, our professor, whoever we need to submit it, or put it up online. So that would mean publishing it or printing it out. So a little bit more in detail about this process. Pre-writing, you begin with a thought, a verb, a mind map, a word list. So this is mainly the brainstorming process where you get your ideas, you decide this is my purpose of writing the essay, this is my audience, this is the format I should use, and this is the formal tone I should use. When you write out the details using your ideas. You will make improvements later. Perhaps at this stage, you're not very careful about your improvements. You're just jotting down all your ideas as fast as they come. Then you revise. Now, this is revising your first draft, preferably with a partner if you feel you're more comfortable about that. You pay attention to your vocabulary, your content, your organization, details that you want to change. You want to move from one place to another. Maybe you need to take something from the first paragraph, put it into the second, and what can I add over here? What can I move over here? Then you rewrite it, you're including the changes that you have identified in the revision stage. You proofread your second draft for mistakes, like I said before, in spelling, grammar, punctuation, and mechanical errors. Now you're ready to publish. And remember, you can go back and forth within these stages. So please do remember, these are not actual stages that you have to follow one after another. It can differ from person to person that you're using to write. This will give you also a better idea about how we go about it. First, we get information. So this is our sources. We access our resources. It could be a text. We could look at audiovisual information or media. We could look at electronic media. We mind map our ideas by planning, by organizing, by writing and checking. And this is still at a very rough stage. So it's a rough draft. We read the question carefully, reread it again and again, understand it, go back to it. So our focus, like I mentioned in my second or third slide, should be very important. You need to know that you're not moving away from your focal point. You're not moving away from the question that your essay wants you to write about. Because if you move away, you go off topic, and then you can get less marks. So at this stage, you're writing, you're rewriting, you're checking, you're expanding, you're drafting, you're editing. And then you check your work, again, go back to the question. So keep going back to the question. Have I answered the question? Are there any improvements I need to make? And you finalize your draft, and do not forget to cite your sources if you have used any sources. And then finally, you submit it. So just to give you a very quick run through now, like a review of the 9 steps to write an essay. If you look at number 1, it says read your essay prompt thoroughly. Again, I cannot tell you the importance of this. It's extremely important. You have to read your essay question thoroughly. Choose your topic, especially if you have a choice of more than one essay topics to choose from. Outline your essay. Stage 4 would be get the structure of your essay right. Stage 5, start writing your essay. By the time you get to stage 6, you're writing your introduction paragraph. Stage 7, you're writing your body paragraphs, and then you end by writing your conclusion. And the final step should be editing and revising your essay. Now, essay writing is so important because you have to also take care about the language. It should be in a very academic style of writing. So you have to remain as objective as possible. Okay, unless it's a narrative which can get subjective, most of the time essay writing should be quite objective. You can be critical, you can be analytical when you're writing, but always remember to support your arguments and your ideas with proper evidence. You can make use of subject-specific language. So depending on whether you're writing a descriptive essay, a narrative essay, argumentative essay, so your language will differ accordingly. Be very precise in your meaning. So don't go on and on about the same idea in 2 or 3 sentences. It can get boring. So be very precise and clear when you're writing. And as I mentioned before, cite your sources to support your position. This is very important because it can count to plagiarism if you take something from one source and pass it off as your own idea. And that is a very serious subject in essay writing or any kind of writing for that matter, because plagiarism is absolutely not done. What do I need to be careful about? I need to be careful about my language and my register. As I told you, there should be a level of formality. So a formal register should be maintained whenever I'm writing my essay all through. It should be impassive. Academic writing avoids emotional language. It avoids slang, any kind of getting extremely subjective, again, depending on the kind of essay. So it should not get very, very subjective. And slang should not be written. So no informal language as much as possible. So keep the language formal. It should be objective, avoiding personal pronouns. Again, this will differ depending on the type of essay. So um, exactly, Hamad, absolutely correct. The structure and nature of your writing will depend heavily on the nature and type of your assigned task that you have got. So that reflects it definitely. Um, I should use evidence. All my facts and theories should be referenced. I can use a standard system, which could be the Harvard citation method, Chicago method, APA method. It could be the author date and footnotes, depending on whatever the requirement of your essay assignment is, or your university requirement is, or your professor's requirement is. Include a bibliography of everything you have read and put in as ideas in the essay. Give a very clear overall structure. So academic writing requires a very clear structure that we have just discussed so far in the previous slides: introduction, body, summary, and conclusion. Sentence structure should also be very clear. It should use very clear, effective sentences. I should know exactly where my sentences are going. If I cannot understand my own sentences, then in all probability, my audience will not understand what I'm writing. So avoid overlong sentences, excessive clauses, very roundabout way of writing. It does not work because the person tends to lose the focus of the idea in the sentence. Very concise, very precise. It should avoid any padding, like overuse of too many descriptive words, too much of repetition, unnecessary adjectives. I'm not saying you cannot use descriptive words, will definitely be used in a descriptive essay, but I'm saying about other essays, and too many of these, at the same time, clutters up the essay and takes away from the main idea, so it's not clear. What are some common mistakes we can all make? So even the best of writers can make mistakes. So we all do this at some time or the other. So what do we avoid in essay writing? Sometimes we fail to address the question, the topic or the question, like I just told you. So this happens. And one of the main reasons why this could happen is you started off with the best of intentions. You had the idea in your mind. You had the question fresh in mind. But as you went on, you kind of forgot the question and you went off at a tangent into different areas, into different ideas. And the reason this happens is that you don't keep referring back to the question. That's why I emphasize that in 2 or 3 of my slides, that you need to focus on the question. Go back, read the question. You're writing your first body paragraph, go back, read the question. Second body paragraph, go back, read the question. Am I on track? Am I on the correct path? Okay, so make sure you don't leave the idea that is wanted in the question. Sometimes writers will begin with no clear introduction. So this is straight away a confusing factor for the reader. He does not know where the writer wants to take him. So he doesn't get an idea. And once you start off bad, then it's very easy to go into confusion as the essay progresses. Not having a clear argument. So you do have an argument, but it's not very clear. I don't know where exactly you're taking me. Are you in support of it? Are you against it? So if you're in support of it, it should be very clear all through the essay. If you are not in support of it, that should also be very clear all through the essay. Describing rather than analyzing. Now, this would be definitely not for descriptive essays, but for other essays. Let's say argumentative essays, where you need to analyze the problem or to offer a solution. So you're describing it more than you're analyzing. Not using reliable references. Okay, so your references are not clear, they're not very reliable. The person reading it is not able to identify what exactly you're talking about. Quoting without understanding. So you're talking about a certain topic, but your quote is about another topic. So it doesn't gel together. Inflated and very elaborate style. So a lot of wordiness, a lot of overuse of adjectives and descriptive words, and it's not really, it's too elaborate and it's confusing. It's taking away from the main idea. Not supporting statements with enough evidence. So you're not giving enough evidence to support your statement. You're just stating facts. Incorrect referencing. Okay, so the referencing that you have done is not correct. This also does not give a very good impression to the reader. Recommendations not drawn from analysis. So definitely you analyze and you come to the conclusion or the solutions. Conclusions are not forward-looking. So if you're suggesting a problem and giving a conclusion, it's better to give a solution that can be recommended or done in the future. So that would be more helpful. Making assumptions. So there is a certain statement in the question, but you're just assuming that everyone is going to think like this, not allowing for differences of opinion. And your data collection is very poor. You haven't got enough to support your ideas. So these are some common mistakes we should avoid. Now, because many people do essay writing when they're doing the IELTS, this is taken from IELTS Charlie, which is the IELTS opinion essay structure and how should it be done. So the very basic structure is on the left, like you can see, what I've already talked about. Introduction, body paragraph 1, body paragraph 2, conclusion. So in the introduction, you paraphrase the question, meaning you restate the question again and state your opinion. Remember, this is just an opinion essay. In the body paragraph 1, you give the main idea with explanation and examples. Body paragraph 2, you do the same thing. Main idea, explanation, examples. In the conclusion, you sum up and you restate your opinion. Joe Bunting is a writer who has written about how to write great essays, and he gives 10 tips. You can see his picture there at the bottom of the slide. And he calls it the write practice, W-R-I-T-E. So it's, of course, a pun on the word write and write, R-I-G-H-T, and W-R-I-T-E. So he gives us 10 tips, which are quite useful. So I thought I'd include them here in my presentation. An essay is just a short story, according to him, about conflict between different ideas and the change perceived in these different ideas. So it's a conflict of ideas, and how do you perceive it? What are your ideas? Do you agree with the statement of the question, or do you disagree? And if you agree or disagree, support it, so convince me which side you are on. Ask yourself, how can I have the most fun writing it? So there is no rule that says you cannot enjoy your writing. You must and you can enjoy your writing. And if you enjoy it, then your reader is also going to enjoy it. So enjoy what you're writing. Take a lot of pleasure and enjoyment in it. Point 3, what do I find interesting about this subject? What surprises me the most? So this is very useful, especially when you have a choice of an essay. If you have 4 or 5 topics to choose from, Choose one that surprises you or you find interesting. Then you will write in a more interesting manner, as opposed to choosing one that is a little boring and you don't have a lot of information on. Point 4, feeling overwhelmed, write 5 sentences and take it from there. This is very good when you have a lot of time. You have a deadline that is like about 2 or 3 months away. But at the same time, you're looking at the topic. There's only one topic. You don't have a choice. And you feel very overwhelmed. You feel, I don't think I'd be able to write. But write down 5 sentences that you know about the topic and then take it from there. So this will develop your interest, and then you can start researching and looking up sources. Research well, point number 5, so you can write well. Point 6, write the body first, introduction second, and the conclusion last. Now, this is interesting because most people say write the introduction, then the body, then the conclusion. But according to Joe Bunting, he says write the body first, and then the introduction, and then the conclusion. Of course, this need not work for everyone. It may work for some people, but it doesn't have to work for everyone. Instead of answering the question what and why, answer the question how. Then you'll have more material to look at and to write about. Give yourself the freedom to move around the topic. Okay, so write from different angles, from different views, from different visions, and you can edit it later. Yes, definitely, Hamad. The sentences are called baby steps. I love that. I love that idea. Yes, and only when you take the baby steps can you move on and take the adult steps eventually. So yes, that's a very good idea. Very nice way to look at it. Point number 9, check words that are used. Try to see that you are not using too many cliches. Like I said, no wordiness, too much to write on and making it too elaborate. And he says you can use Wikipedia for background research and to cite your sources. Not everyone may agree. Some people may not like Wikipedia. Well, then you're always free to use other sources. Not a problem. These are some quotes that I picked out on essay writing. I thought that they were very interesting, and maybe, hopefully, it'll leave you, my audience, with good ideas. I couldn't find the writer for this, but it said the scariest moment is always just before you start. And I thought this was so true. When you look at the question and you're suddenly scared or you're nervous and you say, I don't know how to do this. I don't know what to write. And this is especially scary when you're doing a timed piece of writing. It's an exam, only 1 hour to write or 50 minutes to write, and you just don't know. But once you get started, and you, inshallah, if you follow these tips, you can get there. And Dan Pointner says, if you wait for inspiration to write, you're not a writer, you're a waiter. So don't wait for inspiration. Look at it, read it, and all your previous experience, your knowledge will come to your rescue. And like I said, if you have time to write, you can always look up many, many sources. So please always remember, I like this quote by Stephen King a lot. Is there anyone in the audience who is a reader of Stephen King books or at least watched his movies? He writes horror, by the way. I'm a huge fan of Stephen King. So if there's anyone there. Yes, Shada says yes, yes. Okay, anybody else? It's not everyone's cup of tea. Aziza likes him too. Yes, he writes horror, so not many people like horror, but his books are extremely interesting, and many of his books have been made into movies. And that's why I especially like this quote. He says, write with the door closed, but rewrite with the door open. Can anyone tell me why he said that? You can write in the chat box and tell me, what do you think he means? Write with the door closed, but rewrite with the door open. Why do we need to close the door? Is this the door of the physical room? It could be the door of our mind. Why do we need to rewrite with the door open? Hamad says, write by focusing only on ideas. Yes, not everything else. Very good. So keep away from distractions. Keep yourself focused. Very good way of looking at it. Yes. Anything else? Why rewrite with the door open? Abir Abdullah says, change your perspective. Yes, excellent. So when you're rewriting, change your perspective, get more ideas. Try to look at things in a different way. Focus on content. Yes, Abdul Karim. Muad says, when you rewrite, you adjust your ideas. Definitely. Rana says, the thoughts don't flow away. I love that, Rana. Yes, yes. So very, very good. Yes. Nada says, get feedback from others when you rewrite. Yes, definitely. That helps a lot because when you're looking at your own piece of writing, sometimes you tend to lose focus. But another person can point out very well where you've gone wrong or where you need to redirect yourself and come back to it. So, yes, that's very true. And that brings me to the end of my presentation. I hope all of you enjoyed it. You got some tips for essay writing. And if there are any questions, I'm right here to answer your questions. Thank you so much for attending.
Well, indeed, it is very informative and full of suggestions, recommendations, and steps of writing essays. Thank you so much, Ms. Sajidah, Fakhri, and thank you all for attending the workshop. So we really enjoyed it. We really learned a lot from the workshop. So I
Thank you.
shared with you three links. The first one is the evaluation form. Please complete the evaluation form. Make sure you write your name correctly and your email address as well. The second link is our online system, appointment system. So whenever you need any help with your writing, you can just step by the writing center office or make an appointment, online appointment. The third one is our YouTube channel. Inshallah, we will upload this wonderful workshop within 24 to 48 hours, inshallah. So let's now open the floor for questions. I don't know why you can't open your mic, but you can post it here in chat or raise your hand so I can change your role. You will be able then to open your mic.
I'm right here, as Dr. Bassam said. So any questions, you're welcome to ask them. Thank you so much, Muhammad, Soha, Nashmiya, everybody who joined us. Thank you very much. But yes, the floor is still open for questions.
All right, so I think it seems that there are no questions or comments. So then we reach to the end of, okay, we have one here from Fahad. Are there any good books you like? Okay.
As of now, Fahad, I think I can't think of any really good books. The Longman series are good for essay writing, and if I think our writing centers have some very good books on essay writing too. So I'm sure the men's campus would also have some wonderful books and resources that you could look up. I think Hidayah has a question which about
yes.
a form, which I think you could answer, Dr. Basim.
Yeah, I think her question is about whether I can use or I write essay as, I don't know, it's not clear for me, but
Okay, I think she's asking on the
yes.
form, should we write our personal emails?
Yeah, okay, on the form. All right, so I got it. Yes, yes, it's totally fine. And tomorrow we have how to understand and answer essay exam question. So stay
Mhm.
tuned. Hamad, yeah, there is a good book actually. If you can share it with us, Mr. Hamad. Okay.
Okay. I think he says he's not sure about the name, but anytime, Hamad, when it
Yes.
comes to you, could also, yes. Haneen says, what are your tips for improving my English skills in English? Haneen, I would just say read a lot and write a lot. The more you read, the more you speak, the more you write. I think your English, just any language for that matter, just tends to keep improving. Okay, Hamad says he bought it from Jarir. Yes.
All right. So, yes, can you send the slides to my email? Nashmi Shemri. Yes, sure. If you can directly email Miss Sajidah, so she will be happy to share the slide with
In,
you.
inshallah, yes. And
Yes.
I think it's also available on our YouTube channel, right? So she
Yes.
can do it.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, Hamad. I think this is the book, the academic writing style. Yes. Yeah. Check this. I think it's. He said he bought it from Jarir Bookstore, so
Mhm.
you can check it there.
Thank you, Hamad. Thank you for giving us that name. So it's
Yes.
going to
Thank
be a
you.
big help for everyone.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you,
All
Dr.
right.
Hassan.
Thank you. That's all for today. Thank you, Miss Sajda. It's been a wonderful workshop. Thank you all for attending the
Thank you
workshop
very much.
and stay tuned. We'll see you inshallah tomorrow.
Thank you.